Tech Tales 90. Today is Saturday, July 31st, 2021, 7:08 a.m. 12 noon today. I'm planning to have a live stream session with Bertland Hope in Jamaica as he is working on starting a IT business on the side. Myself in the chat room are kind of providing support group type reporting for him. He meets with us weekly on Saturdays. And then tomorrow on Sunday, expecting to do a 10 a.m., these are all Pacific time, session with Jason Laster in Tazewell, Tennessee, as he's also starting an IT business on the side, and we're also providing similar support group type of interaction with him as he's starting that business. So today's Tech Tales, I'm a little nervous about. Maybe more than a little nervous. I was expecting to be doing 3 different time slips today for 3 different companies that I have pictures for all of them. And I got to thinking, wow, when I show this one picture, for instance, it's kind of unfair for me to show that picture and then not describe what's in there and give some background about this office. You've heard me talk about them a lot, but it's also kind of like taking somebody into your own closet or your dresser drawers and showing them things. This is small business IT support, and it's sometimes not perfect, not quite right. And so, I'm probably going to get judgment for this. And I figure I kind of been finding with this YouTube adventure that if I prepare myself for if I'm expecting some hate, some criticism, then I'm a little can handle it a little bit better, and also I kind of am able to imagine the other person's perspective. They may be coming from, I don't know, corporate IT or managed service provider where they have a much larger budget amount that they can do all the nice things and make it look pretty. And be, by the book. So there's some things I'm going to expose here that are not by the book. It's kind of the reality I find in small business. So we're going to see how that goes. Ay caramba. Am I really going to do this? So this first time slip is Saturday. I don't think I'm going to get past this because there's a picture. And when I show this picture, I kind of feel like I've got to describe it to you. This was on Saturday, 1 hour and 15 minutes for the law office Papa, and this says 1:30 to 2:45 p.m. Troubleshot problem with handy backup operation resolved by installing Opera browser, then completing registration of upgraded version of handy backup. Began manual backup. Now, handy backup, I like it. It has some advantages and disadvantages. I use handy backup on this computer, Macrium Reflect, mirroring, which you might say is not a backup, but wait till you hear how I do that. And Magnus Box. So we have cloud backup. We rotate drives. We take them off site. But handy backup is part of the backup solution. And recently I installed a upgraded version. They had a new version out. The old version was a few years old, so I paid for the upgrade for 2 servers, so 2 licenses, and installed them. And one of the servers, it failed to activate the license. And it turns out it's because of the browser on it is out of date. These are Windows Server 2008 R2. I know they're no longer in support by Microsoft. I have accommodations for that and reasons for being this way. They're not required reasons, but a person could argue against this. But this is where we're at, and it's going to take you a while to come to understand or accept, or you may never accept this. But we are due to make a change, a next step on these servers within the next year or 2. So By installing the Opera browser, I was able to complete the registration. I had tried some other things to complete this registration. One of the things is their support is I send them an email. I've been through this before in prior versions, and they send back a code and I put that in and it would work, but no, it still didn't work. So the Opera browser worked for this because the browser, the Internet Explorer, yes, wouldn't work. So I'm switching over here to the photo of their servers. Let's see how this goes. And it wasn't necessary for me to give you a photo to describe that situation about the backups, but I'll just take you through this. So obviously monitor, keyboard, there's two mice up here. One's wireless and this other backup mouse back here is wired. And then under here is a KVM switch. If you're not aware of what a KVM switch is, that's keyboard, video, and monitor. It's an 8-port KVM switch, but we're only using 2 ports. We're only using 2 servers. So that green light there shows you that we're on that server right now. It's labeled as file server. This one's labeled as com server. And here's our 2 backup drives that's currently in place. I use this, the silver is always for the com server, and the black is always for the file server. Here we have a yellow tag is on the left for com server, and on the right we have the file server. The backup drives on the right. This label down here, file server backup, and this label yellow for com server backup. So some ways of being able to identify to the staff what we have going on when I need to talk them through something on the phone. Here we have a clock radio, and I put that in when we were having some problems with power going out. And I wanted a quick, easy way to tell if the power is going out to be able to ask the staff, was there a power failure overnight? Well, they look at this clock, and if it's flashing, then we know that there was a power failure. Whatever the time reading on it, when they see it flashing, is an indication of how many hours and minutes have elapsed since the power was restored. This is a battery backup right here. And then let's see, I got to zoom out. These 4 servers here, I know some of you are going to want to know what model they are. I recall them, they're Dells. I want to say 910, something or other. And we bought them refurbished, used refurbished. We bought 4 of them. You see 3 of them here, but we only used 2 at a time. So the strategy behind this was to buy 4 of them, where since we're buying them used, it was an affordable price, and I set them up so that we could very quickly swap in backup servers. So we actually always have backup servers available that we can put in place in case a server crashes. So we have the way that I plan to do that. Notice these drives. Some of them are partially ejected. There's 2 drives on the right hand side that are mirrored drives for booting the servers. Then these 4 drives are RAID 5 for the data drives. So if one of these drives goes bad, I can just open these latch while the server is running, take the bad one out, and put the new one in. And I have, well, these are all spares. All these ones that are partially ejected are the spares. And I've had to do that a couple times. It has happened. One of the downsides for this server is the RAID controller. Now I know this is due for a cleaning, okay? I promise I'll do that. I would have done it on the day that I did these, but I had cleaned out my car and neglected to put the vacuum cleaner back in. So I'm splicing this little piece in at this break because I had a little brain fade there and I lost my train of thought. I had mentioned a downside about the RAID controller. The RAID controller can be configured to issue an alarm when one of those RAID 5 drives goes bad and make a sound. But in testing, once I had these units in there, and the first time a drive went bad, there was no audible alarm. And in researching it, I found that the RAID controller had that capability in those programming options, but there was no speaker. There was no sound device on that card. It was intended in a future revision of that adapter card. So we don't get an audible alarm when there's a drive failure. So it's really reliant upon looking at the lights occasionally. And that's kind of weak. So anyway, on with the previous recording. So I paused that for a moment because I just blanked on where I was at. So I've got these drives that are partially ejected. So I mentioned mirroring as a form of backup. The way I do that is I would take one of these drives, and I would, on a weekend when nobody's there, I'll pull out one of the boot drives. This is a mirrored. So for the boot drive is mirrored. The data drive is RAID 5. So I would pull out one of the drives while the server is up and running. So that instantly gives a fault for that drive, right? Then I put in one of the spare drives, and then it remirrors to that drive. Well, this drive that I just pulled out is a backup, because if the mirrored drive goes bad, if the operating system goes bad, and both of those mirrored drives are not functional because it's not a hardware problem that the boot drive has gone bad, but rather a operating system problem, well, I've got a backup of the boot drive. The boot drive doesn't change very often. The configuration doesn't change. That's not data. So that would give me a backup of the boot drive. That is something that came from my own mind. I have never heard that taught, never found it in documentation, but I tested it, and it seems to work. So that's an extra form of recovery method that I have. Then let's see, what else have we got? Oh, right. So I said that we bought 4 servers. One of them's missing right now. It's in the other room. I pulled it out some time back because I was going to run some experiments on it. I haven't got around to doing those experiments. But it's still here, and easily I can take it down there if we have any need to do something. So obviously, well, maybe not obviously to those of you who are not familiar with a rack mount, this is a 2-post rack mount. So all these items are screwed into those posts. And these, let's see, yeah, that mounts right up here. This has a rack mount and a latch release, so I just open those latch covers and the whole thing can slide out. I can open the cover here to clean the interior. This whole rack is on wheels, so I can roll it around. What else is worth mentioning about this? Let's see, we're at 12 minutes, so yeah, here we killed a whole session just going over this picture. I'm going to need for you to let me know, is this worth doing? I'm inclined to think for people who don't work in small office environments, it probably is. Now, every one of my small office environments is different, and they all evolve over time. And I love this work. If I get when I get a new client, I can go into their office and I have them show me around, and it's always different than what I've seen before because it's as unique as a fingerprint. And then I just work with whatever they have and over time gradually improve the setup. I'm not going to go into the story of what this office was like when I took it over. That was a long time ago. I don't know, 1997, 95, somewhere around there. All right, anyway, that's enough rambling. I hope this has been useful. I need some feedback. Try to moderate the negative feedback, please. I still have feelings. All right, have a great day. Catch you later. Goodbye.